NBS Frontline. A brewing storm threatens the National Unity Platform, leaving it with a stark choice. Will it weather the tempest or be left in tatters? Speculations abound concerning the latest NUP MP's caucus, where some members cited unavoidable circumstances for their absence, while others harbor bitterness over the treatment of the old guard.
Exposing him, but the way they are doing it is what it portrays.
The standoff between NUP's president and its Buganda deputy persists, with neither side inching towards compromise. Where will this impasse finally break?
Started with UPC, went to DP, went to FDC. There is no way NUP will survive.
In Dokolo, a closely contested woman MP by-election to find a replacement for the late Cecilia Ogwal comes to a close. Who will emerge victorious? Will the current events be a harbinger of the 2026 elections?
So to us, this is very, very encouraging, and I want to say I think Dokolo has set the benchmark for a peaceful, disciplined, and stable election.
Will we see a fiercely contested race with parties battling for victory, or will it be a one-horse race? This is The Frontline. NBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of The Frontline. My name is Charles Mwangu Shampagi. We're still trying to process the press conference given earlier today by the leader of opposition when letters leaked about part of the information that he was discussing with the journalists about his per diem to visit the ailing colleague in Nairobi. Then shortly after that, we're waiting, of course, still for Dokolo, woman member of parliament by election. Those results should be coming out any moment from now, and we'll break the news here as and when it becomes available. But President Yoweri Museveni has just released what he calls a slightly amended cabinet list. He says in this cabinet list, in this cabinet list, we see some newcomers, a few people have been dropped, but majority of it, just like he says, slightly amended, retain their positions. We see Balaam Barugahara, who's been leading, one of the earliest members and one of the leading faces of the MK Army, and now PLU, being appointed to cabinet in a position of a state minister. We also see a few other people. Liliana Bear has joined cabinet. She's also been one of the key members. She is one of the key members of the PLU and the MK movement, plus a few others. What does that mean? What does that mean? We will analyze a bit of that. And the CDF has joined cabinet in a Minister of State position. Someone was joking and saying, now 3 former CDFs, 4 CDFs are now in cabinet. Katumba Wamala was CDF, he's in cabinet. General Muhoozi was CDF, is in cabinet. Wilson Imbadi was CDF, is in cabinet. JJ Odongo was CDF, now in cabinet. What does that mean? And as we move forward, we will look into that. The continuing rift, or rather the widening rift in the leading opposition political party, NUP. What does it say? Many people I've seen on X, former Twitter, have been arguing that we shouldn't be discussing that. But do you realize that a weak opposition, a scattered opposition, an opposition fighting with itself, undermines demand for accountability from the party holding power, including in parliament? I think for that reason, we need to keep a sharp focus on political parties in the opposition, especially the one that leads other opposition parties. To discuss that, I have, congratulations, Honorable Minister, you have retained your position in cabinet. Commander of the one-man army, Chairman Norbert Mao, and former frontliner. Very nice to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Ofono Opondo, Executive Director at the Uganda Media Center and frontliner. Very nice to have you.
And from Mulanda.
And from Mulanda.
Thank you very much. Good evening to our viewers.
And cabinet continues to elude you. They announce and announce and announce.
You know, there's Honorable Magode Kuya.
Yes.
Mine is coming.
At the ripe old age of 70.
Yeah, that's when you really need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magodekwe was brought in a wheelbarrow.
Secretary General of the National Unity Platform, David Laus Rubongoya. Very nice to have you, sir.
Good to be here and a good evening to the viewers.
And Frontliner, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality, Shadow Minister for Finance. I struggle to align these things properly. Shadow Minister for Finance and the Frontliner, the Honorable Ibrahim Semujungana. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles.
Gentlemen, let's start with the latest news, which is the new cabinet. Honorable Minister, congratulations. Did this take you by surprise? Did you see it coming? Did you know that a shake-up was coming?
It's the president's prerogative. He chooses who he wants to serve with. It is a constitutional mandate. I don't think it is anybody's right. When I was appointed, I came here and told people that the person with the torch is the president. Anybody else who is in the cabinet simply has a mirror to reflect the light from the torch that the president holds. So he can choose to block the light, and then your mirror cannot have any light.
Yes, my question was, did you see this coming? Did you expect?
But it has been happening every time. I'm surprised that a journalist like you can ask such a question.
No, there's been a lot of
If
speculation
even
when it could
political
happen.
parties are reshuffling, why wouldn't the head of state also reshuffle? Even churches reshuffle.
When you did your memorandum of understanding with the chairman of the National Resistance Movement, you agreed to another position for the Democratic Party. I've been looking through the list. It doesn't seem to have been provided for.
The president of Uganda has our letter and our recommendations. I believe that he will consider it. There have been many changes, even when announcements have been made. I believe another official of the Democratic Party will be appointed to the cabinet. Just wait and see, because our job is to communicate, and he signed that document, and I believe he will abide by it.
Ofono Pondo, let me come to you. Any surprises for you on the slightly amended cabinet list?
No, I usually don't second guess the president, but by experience and precedent, we have never had a single term of government when a reshuffle hasn't been made midway. It is the president who knows his calculation or calculations. Also, the president has established his method of work that apart from not being second guessed, he doesn't act on what public pressure. You may say so and so or are not good enough or have the following issues, but he will ignore, because I think he has a broader areas of considerations. You remember in 1997, when Honorable Jim Muhwezi, and 98, when Honorable Kutesa were censured by Parliament, he just he stayed put until that government ended. In this particular one, you remember that Honorable Namuganza was censured overwhelmingly on some, many of us thought was flimsy ground. And I know very well that some members of Parliament thought that by that censure, she should have been removed. As you can see, she has been retained.
She's alive and well.
When the Mabati issue came up in March last year, many of us on this show and so on, particularly considering that 3 ministers were indicted and before courts of law, many of us thought was, and the president himself had said wait and you're going to see the political action I'm going to take. But as you can see, from his own calculation, he has taken out two, the Honorable Kitutu and the Honorable Nandutu, and kept Lugorovi. So he's the one who knows the calculation. So I think he has lived to what my assessment of him has always been. That is difficult to second guess him. Now,
Professor Gumayo, in his book, Why Fireflies Glow, says he plays his cards, he keeps his cards very close to his chest.
Yes.
And he runs government like a guerrilla.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you remember when Honorable Jeje Odongo, now as we know him, was removed as a army commander then, what is now CDF. He took Jeje to what we thought then was an obscure ministry, Minister of State for Environment. And people said, but what is the general going to do with the trees and the swamps and so on? You remember General Katumba Wamala, former CDF, was made Minister of State for Works under Engineer Azuba, you remember? And people said, how can a general? So it is the president who knows. He has mastered his calculations, and I think it has served both him, not both, him, the government, and the Uganda agenda he has set relatively well. Yes.
Some of the names that have been dropped, I noticed you mentioned Chitutu, the Honorable Dr. Chitutu, and Agnes Nandutu from the Karamoja docket. The former Minister for Defense. Any surprises? You had a big function in Masaka the other day. Of course, he was present. Now he's been dropped and made
Senior Presidential Advisor, Honorable Sempija.
Yes, Vincent Sempija.
Well, Sempija, many of you may not know him very well. Sempija is part of my group, or probably even behind me a little. Those are the initial cadres who started as operatives in the internal security organizations. Then Deputy RDC has done tour of duty. It doesn't surprise me that he has been shifted to where, and those of us who have been in that tour of duty, cadreship and so on, usually we hold our peace. We hold our peace. When you are removed, you just know this is just another assignment. You remember Dr. Kiyonga? Is another person who has gone round and round and round and round. Usually we console ourselves. Please, don't be disappointed. Don't show open disgruntlement. And you see people, when I was in the movement secretariat, I was a director. I was much younger. Honorable Matia Kasaija was a deputy. Honorable Magode Kuya was a deputy. But now you can see where they are. So that's how our chairman does these things.
You hold your peace. You don't grumble.
No, we don't. It is not good to grumble.
Wilson Mbadi into cabinet?
Yes, but you already mentioned there was the Aronda. You remember? General Aronda from CDF, Minister of Internal Affairs. General Katumba Wamala, General Jeje Odongo, David Muhoozi. It is a pattern. You know, the president, this is not a secret, the president himself has said publicly, and we all know, that the officers who come from the UPDF are a little more disciplined, a little more onto the job. They are almost all-round people, and the president believes that when you give them assignment, they'll do the assignment well. And I think many of them haven't disappointed him when he moved them from the army into the civilian political service. And you have not just in the cabinet, even the civil service. You have seen in agriculture, you have seen the PS Internal Affairs, the Director of Citizenship, General Gowa, Namanya, and many others, the deployment. So he believes that they are more, and I mean, look at the police. The only place the president hasn't taken UPDF soldiers, officers, so far, is the prisons.
Let me take just one more from you before I move to the other panelists. The arrival of the MK Army into cabinet. Lilian Aber, Balam Bargahara.
The other day, we have discussed this matter here, and I have been telling you that although I'm not privy to the terms of reference, terms and conditions of special advisor on special operations, I've been telling you that in my own reading as an analyst, I thought that part of the work of this special advisor on special operations was to deflect, was to do certain things that the political secretariat hasn't been doing well. But also, you remember when the president complained, when the media reported about that group, I think this is one way to take steam from a pressure group within. And by the way, even in this outgone cabinet, if I may call it so, you remember the contestation for the Speaker of Parliament in 2020-2021. If you look at the ministers, a number of them, maybe 5, were people, or are people who were very, very strong on the side of the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, even when she had become rebellious to the Central Executive Committee position of the Speaker after choosing Olanya. And the President, to pierce and let that pressure, he got quite a number of the people who were very, very hard, strong on the Right Honorable Kadaga's side and brought them into cabinet. And that quietened that pressure. And I think there is general harmony. The way you see, there's general harmony in the NRM, in Parliament.
What exactly are you saying, that he's pierced a little bit of TLU?
Yeah, not just a little bit. I think he has done it. Because you remember that group.
I said Nile Post. Nile Post is projecting Balam Bargahara putting on a suit and a tie.
Yeah. No, not a suit and a tie. That group had been saying that the NRM, which the president is the chairman, is leading its government, is so rotten, they can't even touch it. Now, I'm waiting to see if they will pay allegiance to Pilau or to the president, the appointing authority of cabinet.
Okay. I will come to discuss the president's PPSs because I think he's moved both of them. The PPSs, both of them have been moved.
Dr. Mona to Minister of State for Northern Uganda.
Yes.
And Birungi, Irene Birungi, our sister, the journalist,
yes,
posted to public service for deployment.
For deployment.
Which is also, again, a normal process that he uses.
David Lewis Rwangoya, you've seen the cabinet list that President Yoweri Museveni has just announced. Any surprises for you?
Well, of course, from the outset, you know, for us, we believe that General Museveni and his regime are illegitimate, and we've been very clear on that from the start. But I'm not surprised by the cabinet that has just come out, because I don't expect anything new from them. First of all, there are a number of illegalities. We've always talked about this militarization of the country, and you've already talked about it. Former CDFs going straight into cabinet. You remember there was a court matter about it, which even ended up on appeal, and it's never been finally resolved. The idea, if you look at the spirit and letter of our Constitution, the idea that the military will be subject to civilian authority, will not participate or be part of partisan politics and all that. So we see that, of course, as a violation. And for many reasons, if you see that you're getting the military into cabinet, there are many problems with that in terms of the rule of law, democratization, and other processes. And of course, the same argument we've made about you know, having ministers as members of parliament and that kind of thing. But also very problematic is to see that some of the people who have been, you know, caught red-handed in corruption scandals. You know, he's just talking about Amos Rugolovi coming back as a minister. I believe that many Ugandans who have been following this iron sheet saga, people who stole the Karamoja iron sheets, and some of them even, you know, spoke about it publicly, and so to see a person like Amos Lugolo coming back really shows a certain kind of disdain for the population by General Museveni. That you know,
he's dropped the 2 ministers who are directly responsible for that.
No, but we are talking about 3 ministers who still have these charges hovering over their heads.
The charges against Kitutu have been dropped by the DPP, haven't they?
Yeah, the point I'm making is Amos Lugolo still has charges on him, and you know, this is the idea of paying lip service to the fight against corruption that we've been talking about. On one hand, and you remember, and I'm glad Ofono Ponde has talked about it, you remember General Museveni wrote and said he would take some political action, and so Ugandans who read that thought actually he was serious in terms of, you know, saying, I am now going to fight corruption. I mean, this is a person, I remember from what was going on that some of the iron sheets were found on his cattle shed. And you have him again as a minister. So that is, of course, very problematic. But also looking at that list, you look at the service delivery in this country, which the Prime Minister should be, you know, taking charge of or taking lead in. But you find that Robin Anabanja is coming back. You know, for me,
as Prime Minister.
Yeah, as Prime Minister, for me, it's a joke. Because, you know, the levels of corruption are going down, education is going down, healthcare, all parameters, the potholes on the roads. So you would expect a more serious Prime Minister to really give strategic direction to these other cabinet ministers, ministers of state and that kind of thing. So for me, that's to show that there has been no change. And so the people who are watching us should not expect any changes in terms of service delivery. But also now talking about these people who belong to another criminal entity called PLU, and we've been very clear that it's criminal. It is promoting someone who should not even be in partisan politics. To see that they are bringing people from that entity into the cabinet, really, in my view, shows what we've already said, that General Museveni is much more interested in political survival above anything else. So he will do anything, and I'm sure when, you know, Fono Pondo was talking about his calculations, I don't think his calculation has ever been service delivery, the services that go to the people of Uganda. For him, it is about survival. Okay. So whether he feels threatened by this group or whether he wants to bring them in.
I'm afraid I need to cut through there. We're going for breaking news as results from Dokolo get announced.
The Local Government Act, Cap 243 as amended, declared that the total number of valid votes cast for each candidate are as follows. Bodo Faustino, NRM, 388. Opio Samuel, Independent, 299. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates, 687. Total number of rejected or invalid ballot papers, 40. Total number of ballot papers counted, 727. Total number of spoiled ballot papers, 0. Accordingly, as returning officer for Dokolo Electoral District, I declare Bodo Faustino, who has obtained the largest number of votes, the elected councillor for Adagamon electoral area, Dokolo Sub-County, Dokolo District. Signed this 21st of March at Dokolo District Local Council Hall, at 10:40 p.m. Congratulations. I, Edikwaine Ngobi, being the returning officer for Dokolo Electoral District, having added up the number of votes cast as recorded on each declaration of results form, in accordance with Section 53 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, as amended, declare that the total number of valid votes cast for candidates are as follows. Adongo Janet Rose Elau NRM 14,001. Ageno Harriet Nook 727. Aguti Sarah UPC 23,044. Akulo Esther Obot Independent 790. Alwoch Austin Okwal Rosemary FDC 8,168. Arao Rebecca Independent 439. Total number of valid votes cast for candidates 47,169. Total number of rejected or invalid ballot papers 988. Total number of ballot papers counted 48,157. Total number of spoiled ballot papers 49. Accordingly, as returning officer for Dokolo Electoral District and in accordance with Section 53 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, declare Abuti Sarah, who has obtained the largest number of votes, winner and district woman representative to Parliament, Dokolo Electoral District. Signed 21st of March 2024 at Dokolo District Local Government Council Hall at 10:42. Congratulations.
There you have it, the results for the Dokolo District Woman by-election. That's it, left by the late Imat Cecilia Ogwal. Her daughter has lost that election. Dr. Rose Ogwal has lost that election, and the winner is Uganda People's Congress's Sarah Aguti with 23,024 votes. The NRM candidate Janet Adongo came in second position, and Dr. Rose Ogwal came in third position. We'll be distilling that in a few more minutes as we go ahead with the discussion here. Let me go to Ibrahim Semujunganda. A quick comment from you on the cabinet. Any surprises for you? You've
First
looked
of
at the
all,
list.
You need a microscope to look for the changes that have been made.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to understand how Museveni has been doing his politics for a number of years now. First, he created an army within an army that started as a presidential protection unit. It became a brigade. At the time it was a brigade, it was actually a division. Eventually it became special forces, and it became the army. With the politics, Mr. Museveni has established a government within a government. And that's why if you look at the list of staff at State House, that list now has more than 1,000 members of staff. Many of them are doing the work directly that is supposed to be done by ministers. So he has reduced the importance of cabinet. And that's why I think anyone can find himself there. I am only surprised that full figure has not been appointed.
He said this is a slightly amended cabinet.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that I am surprised that...
a major reshuffle might be coming.
No, he may not. I am surprised that people like a full figure haven't been considered. And I sympathize with people like Norbert Mao, because the Norbert Mao I covered as a journalist towards the end of the 6th and the whole of the 7th Parliament are people of substance. I remember when Professor Nsibambi was dropped, and I said he should be celebrating, because you can't be in Nsibambi and you are in a cabinet with Anita. Anita
you can't
Evelyn.
be lugubrious.
Yeah, and your colleagues are Anita Evelyn. I said you should thank God that he has been helped to get out. So Honorable Nomba Timao, you need to consider retiring early. Otherwise, you are going to be in the cabinet with the full figure very soon. Because these are the standards that Mr. Museveni has set up. And that's why, and I'm not belittling Barugahare, but I really doubt his competence of public affairs. I think the only reason is being considered is because...
He's actually called Barugahara, not Barugahare.
Okay, Barugahara. I think the reason is being considered is that is the one who has been in charge of organizing the Muhoozi birthday parties and other ceremonies. So that's where he has demonstrated serious competence.
He's also a fairly successful businessman.
Yeah, but I'm talking about his politics, not his business, because he has not been put in the Ministry of Trade or Finance. He's actually in gender.
Yes.
So his competence that has attracted Museveni's attention has been in organizing his son's ceremonies for birthday and some rallies. So because Museveni runs a government at his residence, he has, as I said, he has reduced the importance of cabinet, so anyone can find him or herself there. But also, Museveni, because in the past, changes would signal something, they would mean something. That either he wants to strengthen ministries, he wants to bring, but I don't think there is a meaning to names that the president is putting into cabinet anymore. So you can't say that so and so has been brought to achieve this. I highly doubt. He will have a few people who will do work, people he specifically assigns to go and do some work that by constitution is done by government, like Chiwanuka Chiriowa. You need an attorney general to do some specific work for which you need someone fairly competent. But the majority of people in cabinet are just being rewarded, so you can also come and be part of it. So that's what I see with the cabinet and with changes. And I think Museveni is also increasingly becoming weaker. I remember one time when policemen interrogated Nabanja, she went and organized a very big function in Kakumiro, collected everybody, and I think in a way she was saying, please, if you remove me, I am still capable of mobilizing people.
You remember Tafira at some stage said he was capable of causing trouble.
Yeah. So the president has become a little bit, so he's weaker. He's not the old Museveni. The one today is very cautious, moving people. And that's why he has created another layer of cabinet. Everybody removed from cabinet must find him or his way on the list of presidential advisors.
So Vincent Bamulanga Chisempija, Kuyichina Grace Freedom, Harriet Ntabazi.
So the words that the media used to describe, people who are dropped and those who are in, president has disappointed. So he no longer has capacity to disappoint anyone. That's why he moves them from cabinet to presidential advisor. I think now the presidential advisors are over 100. And he has created a category, specific category.
They were 117 in 2006.
Then he removed some.
Yes.
The last time I looked at the official figure submitted to Parliament, they were about 90-something. I think now they are going to move to 100. But you need to look at the conditions of service for presidential advisors. He has a category that sits at Kingdom, full-time presidential advisors with a salary ranging between 15 million to 17. So all the ministers now being removed are put there. So you can go and sit at Kingdom, where you can earn a 15 or 17 million salary, and you are given a vehicle and policemen and so on and so forth. Because if you look at everybody removed in this cabinet has ended up on the list of presidential advisor. So he's very cautious. He doesn't want to disappoint anyone. So he will create, and that's how government has become very big.
He's disappointed Agnes Nanduto and...
temporarily, because for them they are still, at least Nanduto is still a member of parliament.
Yes. Kitutu?
Both of them.
Is Kitutu a member of parliament?
Both of them are members of parliament.
Yeah, so because those ones have at least they are guaranteed of salary, so it's not a big deal. But the ones like my friend from Rwenzori, Ntabazi,
Harriet.
those ones you have to find
From
them.
Mundibujo.
Yes. So I think that's how government has become very big.
You must find accommodation for them somewhere.
Yeah, you must find them something to cling on. And one way of doing that is enlarging the list of presidential advisors, so such that everybody continues earning. So you're just removing them from one layer of cabinet to another layer. Because the other day I saw, when we were discussing manifesto, Professor Kamund came here. He's a presidential advisor, and he said he was in charge of manifesto. I don't know.
We need to take a break. Asio Omaswa is the new principal private secretary, and Aiden Birungi has been, the deputy PPS, has been transferred to the Ministry of Public Service for deployment. We also have Maxon Oboth, who's been elevated full cabinet minister and taken the Ministry of Defense. He's the Minister for Defense. Wilson Mbadi, General Wilson Mbasu Mbadi, is the new Minister of State for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives in the Ministry of Trade. The others, like you said, many of them have actually retained. So you need to look through to find major shifts in the cabinet, which the president said is a slight amendment. And we also have had results from the by-election in Dokolo district for the woman member of parliament, and that has fallen to the Uganda People's Congress. Let's take a break. We'll pick it up after a few short commercial break, rather.
NBS Frontline.
Welcome back to this edition of the Frontline on NBS TV. There are only 4 surprises, but they are imminent change predictable. This is a former Minister of State for Local Government, the Honorable Ahawe Perez. He says, General Mbadi, the president accused him of presiding over a corrupt force. Mohozi loyalists, Balam Barugahara and Lilian Aber. The retention of Pasis Namuganza, who was censured by Parliament, and the dropping of Harriet Ntabazi from Bundabujo district. Otherwise, Sempija and Kuyuchine had to give space for the new catch. Kitutu and Nandutu had to go because they were responsible for the Karamoja affairs and the Mabati scandal. That's according to the Honorable Perez Ahawe.
Pereza.
Pereza. Pereza or Perez?
Pereza.
Pereza. Pereza.
Pereza Ahawe.
Pereza.
Okay. I'll take just one more message from somebody who calls Chairman Mao Big Daddy. He calls him Big Daddy and says, congratulations on being retained in cabinet.
By the way, has Chairman ever hosted us to a tea since he became minister?
You see, I was reshuffled from the front line.
No, you had the responsibilities. Okay, this is the message for you. Congratulations to Big Daddy. He deserves that position as Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. He is after a peaceful transfer of power without bloodshed. He personally told me that in 2020. Meanwhile, Uganda is now in autopilot mode because we have no central bank governor, we have no CDF, we have no IGP. That's James Alemi. And he says the new cabinet is about 3 things. An endorsement of PLU, remove of the Iron Sheets ministers, change State House management. Something must have gone wrong here. Change leadership at Ministry of Defense and UPDF. Those are his views. Thank you, James, for those views. I see just another message here. Yes, Sarah Kajingo says, General Mbadi is quite switched on. He understands the region well. Yeah, I'll not take too many messages for now. Job Richard Matua, I am disappointed with the reshuffle. General Ali needs to rest. More Mabati thieves and those who ate money for cooperatives should have been dropped. Matua Job Richard. This is the man of Jesus of Nazareth and Muhammad of Mecca when he appeared in Parliament.
No, and he's an aspirant for
SEC.
NRM Vice Chairman for Northern Uganda.
And the party chairman has refused to fill that position. The party is not filling the position.
No.
Yes.
The terms have expired. I think this registration will lead to renewal of all the leaders in NRM.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much. Let's return our focus to the leading opposition party, the National Unity Platform. I want to start with you, David Lewis Rubongoya. We see a growing rift in your party, and we're wondering what that means. One, for your politics as a political party, but also for the larger opposition and the campaign to remove what you call a dictator, Yoweri Museveni.
Well, thank you so much. Maybe just to, I was trying to talk about the size of the cabinet, and when we dropped off, I thought that's something very important to highlight, because it's very dangerous for a poor country like Uganda to have a very, very bloated cabinet of 81 ministers and that kind of thing. But returning to issues NUP, I think there is no crisis in NUP. I think some people, for reasons best known themselves, have tried to create a storm in a teacup. The issue that we've been trying to deal with is well known to everybody in this country. Our senior leader engaged in something we consider contrary to the values of the party and the aspirations of the people of Uganda. Different processes were kick-started to try and deal with that issue. And eventually it ended up in NEC, which is the governing organ of the party. The NEC took its decision, communicated it to the nation. And so there is no crisis as far as I'm concerned. Our members and supporters are solid. And because what we stand on are certain values, there are principles that we stand on. Of course, in this country, as you know very well, we've just been talking about General Museveni's cabinet. You've seen many times, every time, be it in NRM and other entities, when anybody is accused of corruption, of wrongdoing, they immediately turn it political. I mean, you've seen it
Is
with...
this just being turned political, Mr. Rubongoya? For a long time, fissures within the party and disagreements between your then leader of opposition and the principal were apparent.
No,
and we have it on fairly good authority that the revelation by the exhibit, Uganda Parliament exhibition, was only an opportunity for you to deal with Matthias Mpuga.
Well, but before then we had an issue of the 40 million shillings, which we came out very, very strongly on, and even ordered the members who had confessed to have received that money to take it back. So,
was he one of them?
No, I mean, when Kagabo, you remember, for example, when Kagabo came out and admitted that he had already picked the 40 million shillings, the party took a strong stance.
And what did you do to Kagabo? What did you do to Kagabo?
But aside from being an MP, Kagabo did not hold any other position within the party.
Yes.
Or was not even seconded by the party to hold any other position in parliament. So, as far as we are concerned, we came out very strongly, issued a statement, and said, look, first of all, we broke that story to say members of parliament have, some members had approached us and told us that they were being given 40 million shillings illegally. They were picking it in cash from somebody's home. So we took a firm stand against that. And we've consistently done the same thing. So I don't want this to be projected as, you know, largely a political issue. No. I mean,
you had the disagreements about Kunga in Masaka, where Matthias Mpuga comes from. And there was a disagreement between the approach taken by Matthias Mpuga and the other members of NUP.
No, first of all, the disagreements in terms of work, operations and everything, that's normal in a political party. You will not find everybody moving in the same line, everybody talking the same line. You'll have different, you know, voices coming out on different activities or in terms of how we approach issues. And for Kunga specifically, you know, that was an interim measure. When we got out of the election, we still have a constitution of 2004 up to now, which is still undergoing the final processes, which is what we are working with, although we amended our constitution, which is pending a few administrative steps. We came out and said, let's have a mobilization structure across the country as an interim measure.
Are you being honest, Mr. Rubongoya, when you say there's no crisis in your party? And we did listen just at the weekend to one of your senior members talking about you personally and the issues in NUP. Dr. Bed Bwanika, he's one of your members.
Yeah,
when you put 2 and 2 together, you stand and tell our viewers that there's no crisis in the party.
You see,
many people watching, you're going to say you're trying to cover up these
does
issues.
that portend a crisis where when a certain leader, I mean, this has happened all the time.
Yes.
We've never, as NUP, or even before then as People Power Movement, we have never all been on the same page on everything. So the point I'm making is that unfortunately, because even in NRM, when Jim Muhwezi was accused of corruption, he brought people from Rukunjiri to come and say, our man is being witch-hunted. When, you know, Gilbert Bukenya, you can talk about Mike Mukula and others. Every time, even with this Mabati issue, I remember some people came and spent the night here at Chira Road Police Station because one of the ministers accused of stealing iron sheets had been taken there. So the fight against corruption in this country, that's a challenge with it. That every time you call out somebody and say you have engaged in wrongdoing, they immediately start politicizing it and to say there's witch hunt and that kind of thing. It is very simple, and that's why the party strongly advised this senior leader of the party to say, now that, and you remember that this information first came through the Parliament exhibition. It did not come. I, for one, when I saw those minutes, I initially thought they were fake. I thought they were fake because I couldn't imagine that leaders at that level could sit in a meeting, distribute amongst themselves 1.7 billion shillings in that manner. But when it turned out to be true, the party engaged in different processes, initially in a meeting of senior leaders, strongly advised this leader. And so I think it is wrong and unfair to look at it as a crisis in NUP and that kind of thing. I can say that our party is solid and it is still standing on its mission to liberate our country.
Okay, one last question to you before I go to the other members of the party. Your new leader of opposition has also been found on the wrong side of taking money. Though he says he has refunded it, the Honorable Joel Senyonyi, he claimed money for 5 days when he spent only 1 day in Nairobi.
As a matter of fact, I think he should be applauded for returning this money. What he has made very clear was that he went to Nairobi to check on the Honorable Segirinya Muhammad. After that, he returned his boarding passes to the Accountability Office, which ordinarily then deducts the money that you have not used. But when that money was not deducted for this particular month, he decided to withdraw this money and take it in cash back to Parliament. So I think he should be applauded.
You believe he didn't do that because Ivan Bowe published that information?
Absolutely. I think he would have done it because, I mean, he has been very clear. Because before Ivan Bowe wrote whatever he wrote, like you say, he had already submitted his boarding pass to say, I actually traveled, I spent there 1 day, not 5 days.
Yes.
And I think this is what Ugandans want to see. And so the demand that Ugandans have been making, you see whatever is going on, the corruption that is going on in Parliament, the allegations, grave allegations against the Speaker, money in billions finding itself on parliamentary staff, accounts and that kind of thing. So what we're saying is, if you are caught on the wrong side of the law, if return this money, apologize. So in the particular case of Honorable Senyonyi, he went for 1 day and returned the boarding pass and said, deduct this money, which was not done in time, and then he withdrew the money and
Are you suggesting, therefore, that if Matthias Impoga had returned the 500 million, you'd have been okay with it?
Absolutely. We said, if you return it, apologize to the nation. There were 3 things. And those were very clearly communicated even by our president. Return the money, apologize, and resign from that position, because that's what leaders do.
Chairman Mao, when you were commander of the one-man army, you spent quite a bit of time
As this is the being
focusing your guns on the national unity platform. When you see what's going on in that party today, are you surprised? Are you vindicated?
I joined politics long ago, as you know. From 1988, as a university student, I became very active politically based on some set of beliefs. And I feel sad because political parties are a very important institution. Political parties are the most critical institutions in a democracy because they aggregate the ideas and aspirations of citizens, either to take charge of government when they win, or those that do not win, continue to push those that have won to serve the country better. So this is a test of how the NUP can manage internal dissent. I do believe that what is happening is just a symptom. The word "a storm in a teacup" I think is an understatement. The truth of the matter is that finally Ugandans have to ask, what are the ideological foundations of the NUP? Finally, Ugandans have to ask whether the NUP has the ability to manage internal conflicts. Finally, the members of NUP have to ask whether there's a process through which they can appeal decisions, because these are decisions that are said to be of the National Executive Committee of the NUP. So I do not know whether there's another body which is above the National Executive Committee. So I think, as General Muntu famously says, and this is from the Latin saying, "Nemo dat non quod habet." You cannot give what you don't have. So you cannot give democracy a country if you don't have it.
Is it a question of democracy? The NUP is stating a high moral ground and saying, if you're caught dipping your hands in taxpayers' coffers, we will not touch you with a long stick.
I'm getting there, Charles. This is also not just about the NUP. It is about one of the arms of government. And the NUP is the government in waiting as the leading opposition party in parliament. Parliament is established by the Constitution to represent the people. The exhibition on Twitter, now called X, is simply a reflection of public sentiment, what is happening. Outrage. Any society needs outrage. Outrage is a good thing. People should express outrage. But outrage cannot be expressed to whom it may concern. It must be institutionalized. And this has happened even historically. Even when there was that problem in the Roman Catholic Church, and one Martin Luther published his 95 Theses, nailed it on the door. You could call it a wall. Now we have Facebook wall. We also have handles. So he nailed his 95 Theses and started the debate. So we must tell the citizens of Uganda what the issue is. And an issue means a point which is being asserted by one side and being contested by the other side. Internally, the point being asserted by the NUP is that, you know, we are not thieves, we have zero tolerance to corruption. That's a good standard for a political party to set for itself. And that means it must start looking at itself from A to Z, which is not an easy thing, because finally you will find contradictions all over. Somebody said you can do everything with a sword except to sit on it. Those who think that the former leader of opposition is a victim of infighting, that he is being hounded out, it's not my duty to defend his his action of accepting money from the Parliamentary Commission. It's not for me to defend his refusal to abide by what his party had directed him to do. But if you want to deal with with corruption, then you must put everybody on the table, because there have been issues raised about the NUP president himself. Issues have been raised about the current leader of opposition. And it is said that when you are sweeping stairs, you start from the top, then you sweep downwards. You do not start from the bottom. So I'm pleased that NUP has set for itself a very high standard. Now it must abide by it. Finally, concerning Uganda, Uganda should not lose confidence in its institutions. You know, even the executive, we have been attacked. You have had the issues of Mabati and so on. The comedian said the executive is executives. That's what they refer to us in cabinet. Parliament, the legislatures call us legislators. Now, the truth is that this is not just a crisis within NUP. This is a crisis within Uganda itself. And it cannot be about the Honorable Mathias Mpuga. I see the leader of opposition shadow boxing. He has a solid platform in Parliament. He has been complaining that he has not attended a single meeting of the Parliamentary Commission, but he is receiving honorarium from the Parliamentary Commission without attending the meeting. So this holier-than-thou attitude in NUP should first of all stop. And we look at what Ugandans want. Rule 43 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament allows any MP to ask the Parliamentary Commission a question. The leading voice of those who want to replace the current government is the leader of opposition representing the biggest opposition party in Parliament. Instead of this shadow boxing, running around all over the press conference after press conference, throwing mud at each other, I would expect seriousness. In fact, the one-man army was about seriousness. Even if you are doing a bad thing, by the way, be serious about it. Whatever you're doing, be serious. Personally, I don't respect unserious people. Now, a serious alternative government would, under Rule 43, ask even 100 questions. I would have expected that by now, questions would have been filed for the Parliamentary Commission to answer on the floor of Parliament. Instead, there's all this...
I thought that was done last week when the Honorable Senyonyi stood on the floor of Parliament and tried to raise these issues. And you saw how the Speaker shut him down.
You wrote a letter, your acting president wrote a letter sacking the Honorable Mathias Mpuga from the Parliamentary Commission. And you are a lawyer, Chairman Mao is a lawyer, and I imagine that you had read the rules.
Yeah, but I wanted first
and the procedure. The rules and the procedure for removing a commissioner of the Parliamentary Commission. And I was wondering...
Absolutely.
Yes. Did that letter stand up to legal scrutiny?
First of all, that was a public statement, and the letter went later to Parliament.
Yes.
What we did was to withdraw the mandate of the National Unity Platform and to say that we are withdrawing the mandate of the National Unity Platform from this person. The law says that we nominate. And so we nominated, and it was absolutely within our right to withdraw that nomination.
Because I want
to tell you this.
Dr. Lina Zedriga wrote a letter which was shared with the public.
Wrote a public statement.
Eh?
That was a public statement. That was the heading of the public statement.
Yes.
But like I said, we wrote a letter
is the
to
wording
the Parliament
of the letter
of Uganda
different?
Clearly saying we are withdrawing our mandate, returning this mandate to the Honorable Zake Francis, who was unconstitutionally removed from this position, even as confirmed by the Constitutional Court, and saying that therefore should Parliament not implement what the party is saying, withdrawing this nomination, whatever this honorable member does moving forward does not represent the interests of the party and the opposition
But you
platform.
had read the rules.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And it's contested.
Yes.
Because
what is the contestation?
you see, for example, in Parliament, there can be a process of censuring a minister.
Yes.
But there's also a process of recall where the president can wake up and disappoint. So our argument is that we have power to nominate and therefore the same power to denominate. And you've seen various people arguing that same line, including the Honorable Professor Latigo and others. There are those who say that once you nominate, then you no longer have a right. Our contention remains that if we have the power to nominate, we should have power to denominate, to say that we are withdrawing this nomination.
What is the legal basis of that position that you hold?
I mean, even if you read the Interpretation Act, it is very clear in broad terms that he who has powers to appoint has powers to disappoint. And like I said, since we have power to nominate, but also you need to understand the spirit in which we did this. Tomorrow, if there is another scandal in the Parliamentary Commission, probably involving billions, we want to be on record that whatever is happening there does not represent us and our values and what we stand for. So it is very important for this party called NUP to be on record and to clearly indicate what it stands
Do you
on.
find yourself battling at two fronts? One is to make a statement to the public, and another is actually to follow the law and do the
But
things
I've
the
told
right
you, we
way.
have followed the law. Like I said, under the law, the Administration of Parliament Act,
Yes.
and the rules of procedure of the Parliament of Uganda,
Yes.
we have the power to nominate. And like I said, this
and
power to nominate,
the Administration of Parliament Act lays out a procedure
that's
for
what I've
recall.
said. I've said that there is.
And your letter didn't mention any of that.
I have said
Yes.
that, and I took the argument further. As a lawyer, I'm speaking now as a legal mind,
That's
to say
exactly
that,
yes.
on one hand, although a minister can be recalled by the appointing authority, there is also a procedure for censorship, for censuring a minister. So that's our view, that the procedure which is provided for is how, if a member of the commission conducts themselves in those parameters provided for under the Administration of Parliament Act, the person can be recalled through that process. But we also believe firmly so that he who has power to nominate can also denominate.
Let me seek the interpretation of another lawyer on the show, who's also the Minister for Constitutional Affairs and the Member of Parliament.
Charles,
here.
I did not come here to really put the Secretary General of the NUP on trial. I'm only articulating the expectations of Ugandans of a serious opposition political party. I think that, for me, that's what is at stake. So, Rule 43(2) says, questions may be asked of the Commission relating to the administration of Parliament or other Commission matters. Ministers receive questions. The Prime Minister has even question time. I have not seen questions filed for the Commission to respond to. We are talking about a statement. The two are totally unrelated. So, the questions to be asked would simply be, is it true that the Commission sat and made these decisions? 2, what was the basis of those decisions? 3, attached are these reports of expenditures. Can the Commission confirm or deny? You see, I think we just have to talk about what we expect of our leaders. We don't need to even appear.
That happened last week, like I said, when the Honorable Leader of the Opposition and several members of Parliament supported him on the floor of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament shut them down.
No.
And you're talking about a different procedure. What I want to say is that I believe the Leader of the Opposition is taking different steps. Today, he addressed the press. He has filed a complaint with the IGG, with the Auditor General, Director of Public Prosecutions. There are different steps, and he has said that this matter will certainly be on the floor of Parliament through all those procedures.
I would expect a notice of questions.
And that is coming, like I said. That's one of the steps.
Anyway, let me close.
Yeah, you close and then we hear from Honorable Semuju.
My other point, really, is that it's a question of seriousness. versus shadow boxing and grandstanding and drama, which the late speaker, Jacob Olanya, whose memory we are celebrating this week, he once famously told some MPs, he said, your avenue for your kind of discussion is across the road at the National Theatre. You shouldn't be here in Parliament in the first place.
Somebody said that we have left the MPs in the villages and it's the voters who are now in Parliament.
I don't want to go into that. But seriously, it's a test of leadership. Parties can have conflicts, and that is normal. Managing conflicts is important. Conflicts between a leader of opposition and a leader of a political party have been there. In my own party, historically in the 60s, we had our leader, Benedicto Kiwanuka, clashing with the leader of opposition, Basil Bataringaya, and who eventually crossed to the ruling party. So this is really a test of leadership.
Thank you.
But what we expect most is for the NUP now to do some soul searching. You see, the fact that you're in a political party means that you agree on some fundamentals. So either the NUP is wholly of a certain thinking or wholly of another thinking. But the two thinkings cannot coexist.
That's the missing point.
So this is a healthy civil war.
Thank you.
Inside the NUP.
Honorable Semuju, let me come to you on this. Has the NUP properly handled the Matthias Mpuga issue, in your view?
You see, the point that the Secretary General of NUP is making is that as a party, they are not in a crisis. This fight with the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, to him, is a fight against corruption. He needs to ask himself a question. Why do you think the media and part of the public believe otherwise?
Part of the public.
That this is not just a war against corruption, it is also a war against Mpuga. That question you must also answer. Because you communicate to the same public through the same media every day. As you communicate, please guys, we need all your help and energy to fight this monster called Mpuga. The public is saying, no, you are also fighting a political, you are not only fighting
fighting this monster called corruption, you're also fighting. Or you want to put it the other way around?
I want to put it the way I have put it.
Okay.
So, the public that you are seeking to recruit on your side is saying, okay, we understand, okay, there is a problem, but you're also fighting for this. So you now have to design an answer for both. An answer for the Honorable Mpuga, who sat in a commission meeting and he awarded himself a service award, but also to answer the public that
service award.
to answer the question of those who think that actually you are at war with Mpuga, not just because of this, but this war has been ongoing. And I have asked friends in NUP to learn from the FDC. What you are going through, the FDC went through it. I don't remember whether it was the 9th or the 10th Parliament. People sat at the headquarters and said, you must return the money for vehicle. The MPs, you are too greedy. You can't give yourself money. So the whole Parliament now ganged against the headquarters. We will not return the money. This money is for this and that and that. But eventually, part of what weakened the FDC before the final crisis was also disagreement between the headquarters, and I think all the parties have faced this, the headquarters and the group in Parliament. I remember one time the headquarters summoned Professor Ogenga Ratigo, and he said, I am not coming, so you guys, you're not going to run a Parliament from your headquarters. the motion for Uganda to deploy in Somalia, Professor Ogenga Ratigo supported it with MPs in Parliament. The headquarters said, no, we don't support it. Uganda shouldn't be in Somalia. You will have issues when you seek to run Parliament from the headquarters. You'll certainly have issues. And the trouble that we have, all of us fighting to remove the dictator, is that there is a distinction between a formal opposition in parliament and an opposition at the headquarters. There is a distinction. For you, you play by the rules. Those rules are there. What you are seeking to do, the FDC did. I remember saying this on another talk show. When the Amariat group defeated us, who were supporting Moon, they retained me as the chief opposition whip, and my first assignment was to remove everybody who was with Moon. Professor Gengaratigo, I was asked to remove him as a representative to the African Parliament. I was asked to remove the Honorable Cecilio Gwala as a commissioner. I was asked to remove the Honorable Abdul Katuntu as the chairperson Kosase and his deputy Anita Among. And I diligently wrote to the Speaker Kadaga and I said, these guys, we have removed them. She didn't act, so I was summoned to Najana Nkumbi to explain. I said, okay, let me go and send a reminder. So I sent a reminder. Kadaga didn't act. So I raised the matter on the floor of Parliament and she told me, I know what I am doing. Eventually, I went to plead now because I was under pressure from Najana Nkumbi, under pressure because when you are removing colleagues... Did you go to explain in Najana Nkumbi the steps you had taken? Yes, I did. And it's not a simple issue because they're asking you to remove colleagues. And they didn't... Those who are asking you are far away. These are the fellows you are with in Parliament every day. They're saying you remove them. Why are you not hard on removing them? So I go to Kadaga now to plead. Please help me. And he said, I know what I am doing. Eventually, nobody was removed because she said you need to do it through the rules, and everybody appointed to serve as a chairperson of a standing committee, appointed to serve as a commissioner, they will have to serve their entire term. Or you follow the rules and the provision of the Administration of Parliament Act. So I didn't succeed, and they served. The one unique case was of Moses Kasibandi. Even after the term had ended, Kadaga said, for you will not be a vice chairperson of the committee. And Kasibandi wasn't. Because these ones, the Abdul Katuntu served, and he said, okay, now the term has ended, you can remove them. But for Kasibandi, you will not be. And he was not.
But was that regular?
Whether it is regular or not, and that's why I said, I said earlier that the matter of the Honorable Matthias Mpuga was from the beginning not a legal matter, was a political matter. Because it was a political matter, you are comfortable with the steps that you are taking. It doesn't matter whether you succeed, because you are all that you seek to convince is the public. You are not seeking to convince Parliament that the Honorable Matthias Mpuga is removed, but you want to carry the public with you in this struggle with him. Unfortunately for political parties, these things, and they are very painful, because the MPs, every MP is self-contained. They know how they come to Parliament. You may have helped them at the time of the last election, but you may not have the same influence over their election in the next 2 years. So the advantage that the National Unity Platform has had, which is a luxury no other opposition has had, is that they have had a strong personality in the Honorable Kyagulanyi, and many people profited from his popularity. But he has also used it to his advantage. Because if he had the cries, oh, they will not give me the ticket, oh, they will not give me the ticket. So that has made some MPs vulnerable. And I want to ask the Secretary General, you need to be very careful dealing with people who are vulnerable. They can smile at you when they are plotting against you. So by the time you know, you are actually, you can call them in a meeting, they salute you, but they are plotting your downfall. Because in a political party and a group, for you to be comfortable, people you work with must work with you on conviction, but they must also be part of the decision that you are making. If they are military-like decisions similar to those of NRM, they can actually take them for some time, but eventually find a way. So the National Unity Platform can only survive this crisis if their leader continues being as popular as he was, and there are many people who want to profit from his popularity to go to Parliament. But should that popularity win a bid, then you're going to be in trouble. These politicians, they are like people in a taxi. If it is catching power, they will all run away. The same way they were running from other political entities to come to know. They didn't come because they were on conviction. They didn't. The only reason they came was that NOPA at that time was providing an opportunity, an easy way to go to Parliament. It is not that they discussed the constitution of the party. It is not that they sat down to write a manifesto together. It is not that they sat down to craft their ideology. But they simply jumped on something that was delivering them to Parliament. And as soon as you lose a little bit of that, you look at your shoulders and you'll not see any one of them. They'll have run to another group. So you deal with them knowing the background. And I think that's what they're also holding on. It's not the law. It is not that they are a value-based party. That I don't agree. When you are fighting, all these things you'll put aside, and the main focus now is removing Museveni. But if you want to be holding people to certain principles, you can, because nobody does that when you're fighting. You go back to NRM, when they went and captured and stole money from a banker in Kabale. One of the senior people here took away part of the money to go and buy a land. But they said at that time, no, it's not the right time to deal with these matters. We shall deal with them after.
But
let's
some people
let's focus
on a firing squad.
Let's focus on first winning the war. Then we'll deal with these other matters.
Let's bring in. has been celebrating the issues in NUP.
No, first of all,
on every platform.
He's livid.
First of all, I don't agree with my brother, Honorable Mao, that this parliamentary exhibition, I don't know the time, I've forgotten the time you used, that to nobody. People, the public can make noise to nobody in the hope that the leaders, if they are responsible like parliament.
I say it is a good thing.
Yes,
to express outrage.
Yes, outrage. We expect that the leadership of the country, from the president, the cabinet, parliament, the judiciary, should be able...
I'm afraid I'm going to cut you short because we have some more breaking news. There's been so much happening today. So let's first break the news and
what has
we'll
happened
come
to
back
the
to you.
president?
Just a minute.
As the president resigned.
Breaking news.
We have some breaking news regarding one of the positions that fell vacant briefly with an appointment to cabinet. Let's see what we have in a moment from our team in production. That is Uganda's new chief of defense forces.
The frontliners predicted it.
Yeah.
Yes, that is Uganda's new chief of defense forces. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba has been appointed Chief of Defense Forces following the cabinet reshuffle that President Museveni announced earlier this evening when he removed Wilson Mbasu Mbadi and appointed him to cabinet. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, chairman of the PLU and the MK Ame, has been appointed CDF. So you have CDF in General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, you have Balam Bargahara in cabinet, you have Lilian Aber in cabinet. Lilian Aber is the vice chairman of PLU in northern Uganda, I think, yes. And Balam Bargahara, he's been one of the central players in PLU. So those have joined cabinet. People have been scrutinizing some of the new entrants into cabinet to find out who are the Muhoozi people that have entered cabinet. And that is the news we have for now. We'll be returning to discussing on the front line. And you can reclaim your space.
So I was saying that we expect responsible leadership, particularly in the formal institutions of government. Even when people are just ululating, making noise, make noise, we expect Parliament, for example, in this particular case, to say, wait a minute, the noise being made about us as Parliament, is it just malice? Is it frivolous? Is it serious? And they pick it up. So we don't expect just inert. Let them make noise and no. That's not what we expect as a democracy, as a responsible leadership. Two, I hope the discussion about Mpoga and Chagulanyi and Senyonyi won't be a distraction from the accountability that Parliament must make or ought to make about the accusations that are going on. I just don't like the demeanor of Parliament and its members where they are shifting goalposts and blame. I just hope that somebody is talking to them to say they can't get away with it. That they think they will shift blame. Today you say homosexuals, another day you say they are old women who want to recover seats in Parliament and so on. I hope none of them is foolish enough to think that they will get away with.
NUP has remained very consistent on the 500 million for Mpuga.
I'm hoping that this is not going to be a distraction, that we won't put our eyes off the ball asking Parliament to make transparent, credible accountability about the accusation. Not that I believe that everything is true. There are things that could be false. There are things that could be driven by political innuendos, but we expect a responsible parliamentary leadership to make transparent, open accountability. Now, about NUP, it's okay for the Secretary General of NUP, he's a young man, most of them are young, to say it is a teacup, storming a teacup. You remember when we started this issue of UPC group, Rwanyarare and whatever, that's what they used. So these people are copying what UPC said, that it was a teacup. They did not want to tell their own membership and their followers and potential followers and Ugandans that UPC was in deep waters. And as a result, UPC is where it is. No, not much support, dotted support, and so on and so forth.
Well, this is just one
itself
in your constituency.
This is what I'm saying, dotted. Can you imagine that UPC has just 6 members of parliament out of 529?
They are now 11.
500 out of 529, and it is in one ethnic place. Is that what is UPC proud of that? Or is DP proud of having just a thing in one place? No. These are old historical parties that actually have very good policy posture, that they should be spread around the country. Even when their numbers of representatives may be few, but they may not be able to win, but they should be spread around the country. They should have some
national character.
Yes, national character. But for DP and UPC to be reduced to tribal enclaves is really an indictment on the leadership, and the NUP is following that by saying it is a teacup. It is not a teacup. 2, this is what FDC said a year ago, 2 years ago. They refused to accept that when Muntu left, they were in deep waters. They put a false brave face. And they said it was a teacup. Now we have seen the last 6 months, we have discussed the FDC here. Now the mouthpiece of FDC, the former mouthpiece of FDC, is the one who came on this year and said he cannot see eye to eye with the President, the Secretary General, the Treasurer General, because they were living in false denial. I wouldn't want NUP to go that direction. I think it's better to square up with the reality. 1, yes, you may be asking for accountability from NUP, from Mpuga, but there are political wars that you are fighting. Because you're not just fighting with the Mpuga. Why are about 17 NUP members, who we know very well were very bright, MPs at least, why have they gone mute? Did they also benefit from the 500 million? Did Kazibu benefit from 500 million? Did Itoha benefit from 500 million? This man Tebandeke, the one of this Jimmy, the one of Njeru, the other ladies, there's Nabagabe, did they all, Oshabe, did they also all benefit from 500 million and so on? So the fact that there is a growing number of MPs, of leaders, who are disaffected by the methods of work of NUP leadership outside and inside Parliament speaks a lot of things, that you need to have introspection as the leading group, the leaders there, to see where you have gone wrong, can you step back? Otherwise, you are following the other parties. The same thing applies to the NRM. You have just talked about losing election. We lost the other one in Oyam. We have lost this one.
You cheated the other ones?
Yes. Why? Because NRM is not listening. NRM is not listening. We are putting, most of the time, NRM, we are putting a brave face. When people complain about abuse, for example, when people complain about weak service delivery system, when people talk about...
And they're saying you're silent about your own commissioners. They
yes,
also took a portion of that money.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's where I was going. When people are talking about, we are the ones who sponsored the leadership in Parliament. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and we control the majority of the commissioners. We have the Attorney General in that commission. We have the Minister of Finance in that commission.
Attorney General is not there.
No. We have the Minister of Finance.
You have the Prime Minister.
We have the Prime Minister. We have the Chief Whip. And then we have 2 other commissioners. 5 of the commission of Parliament. These new guys only have 2. You ask, how come that NRM is silent? Where was the Minister of Finance when these people were passing 500 to 500 and 400? Where was the Prime Minister? The other day, I watched the Prime Minister saying, I did not get the 400. So, on what basis did they give other commissioners and didn't give other commissioners? And NRM is shy to take on its own commissioners. And its leadership, we should be providing leadership to the commission. So, and you can see the trend NRM is taking. Yes, we can put a brave face because you have a strong president, 38 years, coming to 40. Many people believe in him. But I can predict that we could be going the same way Kanu went, the same way UNIP in Zambia went, the same way ANC is going. And if you're NRM and you say, ANC, CCM, Communist Party of China is your fraternal parties, you should be copying their best practice or practices. How do they handle things when rumors come that leaders have abused office? How would you handle it? And so, NOP is walking the steps of NRM, or putting up a brave face, walking the steps of UPC and DP, and
the steps of
FDC. By saying
it's a storm in a teacup.
No, look at the last election in Buganda. When people power started, when the grievances started about land grabbing, about I don't know what, and we, the NRM people, said, that will pass. Somehow we shall get our way. This is our credo. We lost the credo. We lost the Luweru.
Let's take a break.
Then we lost the Mitiana.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break. I'll take a message from...
We lost the Buyukwe. And so, this...
let me take a message from John Tawite in Kasese, who says, what a show. It is like the panelists are orienting, mentoring NUP on the do's and don'ts of running a party successfully. NUP should borrow a leaf that you should be listening.
Which parties run successfully? Honorable,
no, we're not saying that.
He's advising you.
Learn from the pitfalls.
Exactly. We are glad that we are learning lessons from the parties that have been there.
Learn from the
but
pitfalls.
I don't want anyone to say that because the Honorable Mao's party is now in NRM, you see where FDC is. And also we need to interrogate that some of the problems...
And you as NRM is in it.
Let's take a break and pick up this conversation in a moment.
NBS Frontline.
Welcome back to the Frontline on NBS TV. And like we started saying, it's been a day when things have been shifting very dramatically. So let's have a look at the changes in the military. There you have it. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba is the new chief of Defense Forces. He's not just chairman of PLU. He's also the first son to President Yoweri Museveni. Lieutenant General Elweru is the new SPA. Lieutenant General Okiding is the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces. Major General Chanda is being deployed as a defense attaché. Major General Bakasumba is the new Joint Chief of Staffs. Brigadier Mugisha has been promoted to Major General. Colonel Nyachikukuru has also been promoted to Brigadier, and General Mbadi is the new Minister of State for Trade. General Salim Saleh is to oversee handover and takeover of the CDF, and thereafter the CDF to oversee. The acronyms there might be difficult to navigate at this moment, but we'll be sharing the news as we go along. OO is the one who's closer to this. You should explain some of these things. Yes, as you also conclude your point so that we can...
Major General Mugisha, you have seen there, is the current commander of SFC. He has been brigadier, and so he has been given one more rank, Major General Mugisha. Now, but I was saying on the trivial, my brother trying to trivialize.
Before you walk away from that, I'm afraid, for the benefit of our viewers, what does the appointment of General Muhoza as CDF mean?
Disaster.
Well, he's the overall commander of the Uganda Army.
Yes.
UPDF.
What happens to the Muhoza Army? To the MK Army?
Well, that, in my opinion, that fizzles out.
That fizzles out.
Because you see also there are offices that when you enter into, you are constrained by the strict rules. I don't think you can be a CDF and you run around with the birthdays.
But he was doing that as Commander Land Forces and threatening to attack Kenya.
Well, let us see. But that's what we expect. Now we expect the highest standard of discipline anyway.
From him?
From him.
Does that bring him closer into the pecking order of the transition that people have been talking about, the transition that Chairman Mao was talking about, peaceful transition?
Our pecking order under the Constitution does not envisage a CDF in the line of succession.
Chairman Mao, a quick one. General MK, now CDF, the son of the president, is the commander
it's
of...
MK who is always talking about the reality. You know, there is the
perception.
There's the perception. I have been very open and I've said that even the fastest car must move at the speed of the road. The army is a key pillar of the state. And historically in Uganda, the army has played a pivotal role, whether for good or for bad. Up to now, as you know, we still have 10 army officers in our parliament. And whenever we talk about transition, we cannot avoid the question of where the army stands. I have been assured, as Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, that the army will defend the Constitution. And now that brings in what OO is saying, that the pecking order is President, Vice President. The Vice President is the standby generator in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. But it's important that the army respects that.
Standby generator?
Yes.
A quick one on the appointment of General Muhoza as CDF.
Yeah, as Honorable Semuji has said, it's a disaster, and I think it speaks to the bleak times that lie ahead for the people of Uganda, for our nation, if we do not collectively stand up and defend our country. Honorable Mao is talking about the army defending the Constitution, but you've seen the army regularly deployed. The other time when there were issues in Parliament, is the military which raided Parliament and engaged in the most unconstitutional means. For us, we respect the military and we believe that it should abide by the Constitution, which says that it should be subordinate civilian authority, and we want the welfare of the men and women in uniform, especially these lower-ranking soldiers, and to be improved. So
you say we stand and defend our country from an NUP perspective. What does that mean?
We have been clear. We have people power. We believe that the people of Uganda need to stand up to this.
Yes,
because
the context you're dealing with is that General Muhoza, whom you have had very unkind words for, but who has also been building an MK army, and now a PLU, targeting your crop of supporters, largely the youth, is now CDF.
That's what I'm saying. It's a disaster, because You see, today I was looking at a list of our supporters who were charged in the military courts. You remember the other time before we went to the election, Chibalama, who was, he told court that he was summoned by the CDF then. So the military has had an overarching role in the politics of our country, which is unconstitutional, which is illegal. That's why I say that that appointment portends trouble for our country and all the efforts that people have been putting up to democratize the country and to fight for human rights. So the role and duty is with the citizens of Uganda to rise up and defend their country.
Honorable Semoja, quick one on that appointment, that shuffle in the army.
Everything that Amin did, Museveni has done.
Did Amin appoint a son as
except to expel Asians.
Amin, his son walked to Makerere. He admitted himself into the faculty of law and admitted himself into Lumumba Hall. I told you here, Museveni's wife went to Makerere illegally. We graduated the same year. She did not have the minimum qualification to a Bachelor of Education. Museveni's son joined the army illegally. At the beginning, Museveni said his son was not in the army, he was an LDU. The son gets promoted to major by Gaddafi, who was visiting. There is no general administrative order anywhere in UPDF promoting Moses and setting reasons for his promotion. From now onwards, I think they were sitting in their sitting room and he says, Dad, can I become a Kano? He says, okay, my son, now become a Kano. And this is what has happened. You see, the reason now I think Moses becomes the CDF, is because Museveni can no longer control his son. He can no longer control the son. So they begin negotiating. After abusing Kenya, he says, can I remove you from being commander land force? He says, okay, as long as you make me general IKU. So someone who has misbehaved, nearly causing trouble between two sister countries, and you reward him by giving him a rank of general. Then he says you are presidential advisor, special operation. You can do anything that you want. When you ask a government to explain in parliament, they can't explain. The other day,
what does that mean in the context of your struggle as an opposition member of parliament and the opposition parties? I mean, this is the reality. This is the context that you're dealing with.
So the reality is that the constitution was overthrown long ago.
Yes.
We now have a family, and that's what we need to deal with. It will depend on how much sacrifice that we can collectively make, including yourself. Because this is not our country. It is collectively our country. We all have to do something. Because, I don't know, maybe there will be another reshuffle where the daughters are also becoming, because they have also grown. So the wife is a minister for education, the son is commanding the army, Museveni runs the country, the brother will oversee. I mean, someone who retired from the military. The other day you saw Sari dressing like he was going to slaughter a cow. He was the one presiding over military functions, dressed the way he does. Because, and the reason he went there deliberately, because when you go to preside over military functions, you need to salute. But Sari didn't want to salute these young ones. So he goes there dressed like he was going to look after cows. And today, Museveni, you say, my son is CDF, my brother, you go and preside over the hand of... Really, this level of contempt for a country.
You can say all that level of contempt. Yes. President Museveni is still in charge and looks like he will continue to be in charge.
It does not matter. Gaddafi was in charge for 43 years. See where the country has ended. I was in Khartoum and I saw Bashir returning from South Africa. The whole country was on its knees. Where is Bashir and where is the country? Unfortunately, in all these cases, we may lose both the country and also, because the administration of Museveni and his family will go. It's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, they want to go with the country. Because really, what level of contempt can you exhibit that you appoint your son who has been breaking the UPDF Act, the Constitution, and on his appointment you say, my brother, you go and preside over our family thing. And it is Sare, not the Minister for Defense, not anyone else. Really, do we have a country anymore?
Let me give you back your time to conclude your thought.
Yes. I have confidence in the people of Uganda. We have just had election today.
In Dokolo?
In Dokolo. The family of the late Cecil Obal anointed her daughter. FDC jumped on it. And you have seen the result. The people of Dokolo, because they have confidence in the electoral system, they have not returned her. Similarly,
sorry to disrupt, that is the official communication of the appointments and promotions from the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Uganda People's Defense Forces, and that's from the office of the spokesperson. The President of the Republic of Uganda and Commander-in-Chief of the UPDF, that should be of the armed forces actually, has appointed and promoted the following general and senior officers as follows. General Wilson Mbasumbadi, appointed Minister of State for Trade in the Ministry of Trade and Cooperatives. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, appointed the Chief of Defense Forces. Lieutenant General Peter Elwelu, appointed Senior Presidential Advisor. Lieutenant General Samuel Okiding, appointed Deputy Chief of Defense Forces. Major General Leopold Eric Chanda, appointed Defense Attaché, where is not mentioned. Major General Jackson Bakasumba, appointed Joint Chief of Staff. Brigadier General David Mugisha, promoted to Major General, and Colonel Asaf Nyachukuru, Nyachukuru, yes, promoted to Brigadier General. That is the communication we have from the Ministry of Defense and the spokesperson. Yes, sir.
So I was saying nothing in the Constitution prevents Ugandans from voting whoever they want, but also if the army was to refuse to obey the Constitution and the rules of Uganda, that will be handled at that point. So for me, I'm not unduly worried. What is important is the officers appointed both in the civilian and the security services to know their boundaries. And I want to believe all of them will respect that boundaries. But let me come back to...
Can the army attempt to guide the democratic process? What they call guided democracy. When the army plays a bigger role in the electoral process.
In our constitutional framework, save for offering protection, security, law and order, when they are called to do so by the police and so on, no other.
In our political experience?
Political experience should be guided by the law, by the Constitution. And really, I really want to think that...
And my comment is, in our past political experience of our previous elections.
And that should inform whoever thinks that should intervene outside the framework of the Constitution. They should know where that can lead them.
Okay, go back to you.
But the NOB, I was winding up on Puganda. I was saying, trying to extrapolate that it is not just in the teacup, because I was giving a line of leaders, particularly members of parliament, who are having serious disagreement with the way the party is being run. The latest being Dr. Bwanika, who made two revelations that I think not many people had known before, that he had never known NEC members. They were called some time back, and they were introduced to NEC members. He said he does not know the number, the composition, and then said members of parliament don't belong to any organ of the party.
And both are false, of course.
No, I'm quoting what he's saying. Now, of course, then we can again examine why is he making this hyperbole, and so on. But the other second one was the MP for Njeru, and then Kazibwe, Bashir, of Kawempe North, Kawempe South. And here is what they said. They said, you gang-pressed them, you tried to gang-press them soon after swearing into parliament. Over the 200 million for the car, you first asked them to surrender all. And when they resisted, then you went back. When I say you, the leadership of NOB, and asked them for 10 million each. That gentleman, Jimmy, MP, said he did not give the 10 million. And that's began his trouble, according to him. And so is Kazibwe. I am not so sure about Kagabo. But that's what they have been saying. And they have continued with, really, they didn't use this word, but I think something which amounts to extortion. And then they said, even the money which the government of Uganda gives you through the Electoral Commission, the one they give to the parties in Parliament, and the formula is that is given according to the strength. That under FDC, at least, opposition parties, I don't know whether that's the regulation or not, but this is what Jimmy is saying, that MP of Unjeru, that the money is supposed to be split 50-50, support members of Parliament in their constituency outreach activities. No, this is what he said. This is what he said. I'm saying this. I'm saying this is what he is saying up to now. However, you, the Secretariat of NUP, led by Chagulanya and yourself, you take all this money and you use it partly to hire street vagabonds, the modern street of social media, to be your warrior, so that whoever disagrees with you, both within the party and outside the party, they come under barrage of attack. And I remember Abedi Monica saying, as I said this, I have given them a platform to abuse me in the most despicable way.
Thank
for
you.
the next 2 months.
Our time is running. Our time is running short. I need you to respond. Yes.
So this is not just a teacup, please.
No, I need to respond
You
to
better.
those,
Yes, I need to respond, but in summary, because our time is running out, we should be getting out of here.
First of all, I want to say that you need to understand the people you're listening to. People like Kagabo and Jimmy Rwanga went, long ago and joined and decided to join this criminal entity called PLU. You've been seeing them, and so I wouldn't expect you to quote them even on this program. The money that members of parliament contribute.
Mr. Bongoya, I'm afraid to cut in there, even when I'm asking you to conclude. When you admit and say, people like Kagabo and this other member of parliament went a long time ago, people watching you and who have been closely following what's been happening in NUP, look at Impuga going, look at Dr. Bed Wanika, look at the other members that Ofono Pondore. Yes.
No. Yes. But you see, I don't understand.
What does that mean?
First of all, when you say left, the people who have left so far, who have left NUP that I can authoritatively talk about, are those two individuals,
yes.
Kagabo and Jimmy Rwanga.
Yes.
When you have disagreements with some people and they say this or that, that does not necessarily mean that they have left. And even if they decided to leave, that is a choice that is always available to any person, including myself, including whichever member of the party. You need to remember that you need to also think about the context in which you operate. That is why all these political parties we've been talking about, be it DP, UPC, FDC, the factors that have caused seizures within them have largely been external because of the political environment in which you operate.
They have been external, but they haven't left them stronger.
That's what I'm saying. For us as NUP, what we're trying to do is to put measures in place to ensure that the party remains very strong. But I wanted to respond to these specific allegations. Yep. The members of parliament sat in a caucus that I did not even attend, the president did not attend it, and made a decision on their own. They resolved to support the party. In the specific ways they agreed. And they communicated that decision to the party shortly after they were elected. So I don't understand when anyone says that the party sat down and said, you must pay this amount of money. That did not happen. And for the record, members of all political parties in this country, whether NRM, DPF, DC, or whatever, contribute to their political parties. Secondly, we give accountability. I don't think there's any political party which has given accountability as much as NUP has done, both in terms, just not in terms of paper, because we know what happens in this country, but also in terms of the physical things we've been able to do. Look at the headquarters we've been able to purchase, and at the land we've been able to purchase, set up headquarters. There we shall soon be launching a school of leadership like we told you. We have been facilitating our supporters who are hounded by the state, their families, spending a lot on welfare and that kind of thing. So we've been very, very accountable. So anyone can accuse us of anything except that. And so I wanted to be on record and to say that those people who say whatever they want to say, they may say that for political expediency, but it's just propaganda. These are mere lies.
Okay.
Out there.
Thank you. Let me have a last word from each one of you as we end the show. Let me start with Honorable Semuju, moving back that way.
We are a country in crisis. And I don't think Museveni respects Uganda anymore. That you just get your son who has been breaking the law now to say you head the army. I think this is the lowest that I imagine we will ever see. So we will have to pick ourselves up and continue the fight. Otherwise, because his family is fairly large, so tomorrow you'll wake up and the governor, central bank, he has one of the daughters who is a bishop. He can announce that Bishop Diana now is the governor, central bank, because what can he do now?
Okay.
So it's a sad night for me.
Thank you. I
want to congratulate all those appointed, especially my member of parliament, the Honorable Jacob Maxon Oboth, who has been kicked upstairs from Minister of State for Defense, general duties, now to the Minister of Defense. At least in my backyard, I will now have more pickups with the soldiers moving around. Some sense that we are also in the thing.
You're also enjoying?
We're also enjoying, yeah.
Did Samabati also arrive? Did Samabati also?
Mabati came, he used it for roofing. Actually, my church, the church exactly opposite to my home.
Yes.
But later on, he made good. He bought the Mabati and refunded.
Refunded.
Yes.
And
somebody he has tiled our church there. Yes.
Okay. And Musa Ismail Ladu said,